my show. In today's episode, we have a special guest here with us today. Her name is Emily Butler, and she's a middle grade author, and she also writes picture books. But let me not do her introduction for you. Let me ask her for myself and for you guys on what she does. So, hi Emily, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm so delighted to talk to you.
Same here. So could you please introduce yourself and your latest middle grade book?
Okay, my name is Emily Butler. I live in Utah in the United States of America. I'm not sure if you have international listeners.
Yeah, I do.
I'm a retired lawyer. I retired when I began to have my kids. I've got 3 great kids, a boy and 2 girls. And I think my lifelong dream was to have kids and read books to them because I was so obsessed with books when I was a child. And then when they got a little bit older and they weren't so attached at the hip to me, I decided to take a crack at writing books. So it's been pretty exciting. My current or most recent book is about a raven. I do enjoy writing about animals very much. It's called Otto P. Nudd. That's the name of the protagonist.
That's really interesting. So if you don't mind, could you please, if it's been published, then could you please give us a brief summary or not a summary because then it'll give away the whole plot and everything, but kind of leave us on a cliffhanger about your book.
Okay, no spoilers. Otto is a very, very smart bird, and if you know anything about birds, you know that ravens and crows are about the smartest birds there are. He's so smart that he unfortunately is a little arrogant, and he annoys all of his friends because he's, of course, so much more intelligent than his friends are. And he makes them so mad at him that when he really, really needs their help, when he gets to a crisis, they don't really want to help him because they're just too aggravated. So it's kind of a story about how to be a friend, how to say you're sorry. It's also a story about how humans and animals can be friends. I actually based it on a news report that I heard maybe 5 years ago about a young girl in Seattle who had this relationship with her neighborhood raven, where she would leave little tidbits of food for him, and he would leave her presents like shiny objects. And when I heard that news report, I thought, oh my goodness, I have to write a story about this. This is just begging to be put into a story. So I did. So Otto has a friend named Pippa, and he also has an enemy named Marla, who is a squirrel. So that is sort of the setup of the book. And they have some adventures and learn how to be better to each other.
I love the description of the book. I think many of our young readers who are not ready for reading, maybe not say young, but maybe readers around the age of 12, and the ones who are not ready to start YA yet, I'm pretty sure they will love to read your books. Another thing is, do you write picture books?
I don't write picture books yet. I mean, I'd love to. I actually started by writing a young adult book and have sort of worked my way back in age to my favorite space, which is middle grade, sort of ages 8 to 12. It's really when I think kids start getting really interesting and funny. Their real personalities start to emerge, and they really are my favorite age group to write for. But I'm certainly open to writing a picture book. And I'll tell you what, the artist who illustrated my first book, Freya and Zeus, is a phenomenal artist. Her name is Jennifer Therms, and if you have show notes, I'm happy to send you some information about her. And she has written and illustrated a number of extremely good picture books. So, and I collect them for what it's worth.
That's really nice. I would definitely love to know more about her, and yeah. My next question to you is, when you're writing your books, do you try to be more original, or do you just do what your readers want, and why?
Are you asking me if I sort of try to write what's commercially successful, or do I just do what I want to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm afraid I just do what I want to do. So it's really the only way I know how to write. And so my books are probably a little bit old-fashioned, because I'm sure somewhere in my mind, I'm just modeling the things I write on the things that I loved the most growing up, which was, a number of decades ago. So yeah, I think if you try to appeal to a lot of people, you are probably asking for trouble as a writer. It's best to stick with what you love the most and do the best, consequently.
I feel like, I think you said unfortunately. You said, unfortunately, I do my own thing.
Unfortunately for my sales.
I feel like that's not unfortunate, mainly because even though your sales may not be as good as someone who's doing commercially, like things which are going more commercial, the thing is that if you're doing a commercial thing, your book is gonna anyways slow down sales in later years. But then if your book is something you love, because the point is, if you love your work, then there's a higher chance of other people wanting to read it. But then again, if it's something you do not really like for example, let's say the commercial market is searching for vampires, with something with vampires and unicorns with a hybrid or something like that, but you do not like either of them, and then you write one. It probably won't be your best work, since you don't really like any of those, but you're writing it for the sake of the commercial market, which anyways will have a new trend in the next year.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the readers can tell. You have to love what you're doing. It shows in the writing.
Yeah. My next question to you is, how do you choose the names of your characters?
That's such a great question, and I don't really have a method. I probably spend a little bit too much time thinking about them, but I just sit there with a piece of paper and I write different combinations of names for like hours until something just strikes me as right. And honestly, that's sort of how I picked my children's names. I just, said a lot of names out loud in different combinations until I found something that sounded right to me.
I guess when you're like naming your characters, it's kind of like naming a child actually, because your characters, your children, they all are people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in your case, in your latest book, it's about a raven and a girl, right? So, and a squirrel, I believe, has a name, right? So I think for those ones, again, even though they your protagonist is a raven and not a human being, I feel like the process must be the same, right?
Yeah, it is the same, and I want it to be sort of melodious. You want something that will be easy to say, but also distinguish it from maybe other book titles. So I've always liked the name Otto, wanted to work that in somehow, wanted to make a little bit of a pun because he is a raven. Ravens love peanuts. Everybody knows this who knows anything at all about ravens and crows. So I wanted it to maybe be a play on words. Otto Peanut, Otto Peanut. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it now.
I don't think anybody, it's just a little, inside joke, and I might be the only one who appreciates it. But that's where my mind was going when I was trying to come up with
that. Yeah, at first when I read the title, I was kind of confused. But then when I read it again, I was like, oh, I get it now. Because like ravens eat peanuts, and then instead of putting a T in it, you put a D.
Exactly.
So actually, I have a question for you on those lines, that why did you decide to put a D and not any other letter? Was there like a specific reason, or did you feel like it flowed more off the tongue with D in it?
Honestly, it just sort of came out of my brain, and I liked it. I liked the way it looked, so I went with it.
Yeah, that's a good answer as well. My next question for you is that this is more of a fun question, which is that what would your writing spirit animal be, and why?
My writing spirit animal?
Yeah.
That's a great question. It's got to be a bird, right? I seem to gravitate toward birds without ever quite intending to. I love writing about talking animals, and I wonder if this sort of goes back to my childhood love of Charlotte's Web, which might be my all-time favorite book. Once you write a book with talking animals, then you can basically do anything you want, right? If people suspend their disbelief and sort of agree that animals can talk, then you can do anything you want in the book. So maybe my spirit animal is a bird, and maybe that bird is actually a penguin. When I wrote Freya and Zeus, I found myself identifying very closely with Freya, who is a rockhopper penguin. Never got married, is getting on in years, wants to have one adventure at least in her life. I just really felt it. So I'm going to go with penguin.
Yeah, that's a great answer. So far, the other authors I've spoken to, I've actually tried this question with only one other author who said, I don't exactly remember what it was, but each author I've done this with has said numerous unique answers. Like you said a penguin, some people even said, I believe, peacock.
Haha.
And I think someone even said an otter. I'm not sure about that, but everyone gave really interesting answers. I really loved everyone's imagination. Personally, my spirit animal is an otter because they're playful kind of creatures. They kind of like they're calm as well as like easygoing, they go with the flow and everything.
I mean, I love otters because they're so tender with their children.
So I guess you could say they're more caring.
Yeah.
Caring creatures.
So, you know what? The older I get, the more I kind of understand that animals have real cognition. I think what we have with animals is just a language barrier, right? I mean, animals often live in family groups. They have real feelings about their children, about their parental units. Some of them play pranks on each other. I find that every year I spend on Earth, I get a little bit closer to understanding that, there's just not that big of a barrier between human beings and the animal. I mean, we're all part of the animal kingdom. So
yeah, that's really true.
Yeah, I love it. Otters are great.
Yeah. They're extremely cute as well.
They are adorable.
My last and final question, I loved when our conversations on this question, which is that what is your main advice for young writers who aspire to be authors?
That's easy. My main advice is read. If you have 10 minutes, make sure you have a book with you. Read as much as you can, read as widely as you can in as many different genres. I would just do it for a couple of solid decades. Really challenge yourself. And I guess my second bit of advice to aspiring authors is maybe keep something like a journal. I would even copy out different passages that are really meaningful to you, that you find particularly well written and beautifully expressed. Because I think even in the practice of copying those things out, for example, I love Tolstoy. And even though I can only read him in translation, I think his expression is beautiful, and I have often copied out passages of that, just trying to figure out how he writes. And then, of course, obviously, if you are reading broadly and you're keeping kind of a journal of your own thoughts and making notes of authors that you really, really enjoy, take a crack at it. Write a couple of books that will never get published, write short stories, maybe write poems that might never see the light of day, but you just can't get good at writing or at anything really if you don't put in the work. And that's what it is. It's work. Creating something is hard work. So, and then if I can give another piece of advice, I would try to be a little bit disciplined about it. They say that if you make an appointment to meet your muse, your source of inspiration, and you keep that appointment, the muse will keep her appointment with you and give you the inspiration that you need. And it works really well if you can kind of do that at the same time every day. But when you're young and you're in school and you're doing lots of activities, you might not be able to dictate your own schedule. So just do what you can. But my first and foremost piece of advice really is to read as much as you can.
Yeah, I really like your advice, mainly because reading is a must. I think, as I said, reading would really, I think the main reason many people suggest reading is that because it really develops your imagination, puts more experience. Even if you're as young as 9 years old and you plan on writing, you will have, even though you won't have the life's experience, you would still have this imagination going on in your head and start putting different ideas together and making a whole story or a whole outline of a book or something, right?
Yeah, you're just not going to be able to sort of escape the reality that if you want to become sort of a good writer, you need to read and start practicing of what we call the craft, right?
Yeah.
I wrote a little book when I was 9, and I really do mean little. I think it was probably 4 pages long. Was it good? Of course it wasn't good, but I cherish these little scraps of paper because I can see that I really was trying to figure out what a story even is. So, had a little beginning, a little middle, and a little end.
That's really nice. Now, everyone, that's the end of this episode. I hope you all had fun. Thank you, Emily, for being here with us today.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I'm sure everyone else had a blast as much as I had. And I hope you all learned something new today. So anyways, that's a wrap for today. Bye guys, I'll see you next week.